Okay, now we're recording.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll edit. Okay. Okay, thank you so much for meeting with me. I know we've had 4 sessions together to talk about PAC and our student because we had some behavior concerns in the beginning. So could you briefly just kind of describe what our concerns were before we implemented our intervention system?
Yes. So the student had trouble following directions the first time. He'd had to be prompted a lot by his one-on-one aide and staying on task because he would put his head down and escape the work if he found it like too difficult. And then also he would be like really disrespectful to some of his peers. He would say mean things to them. Sometimes it was like to gain in people's like attention inappropriately. And then he wouldn't keep his hands to himself. So that was like really in the respectful range. And then we had having a positive attitude and talking in a calm tone because he would like raise his voice and just be like really negative and like say no and be not compliant and things like that.
Okay, right. Okay, so we kind of like narrowed down what was impacting his like learning at school for these behaviors, and I know there was like a language component as well, right? Because he comes from a family that
I think they came from China 2 years ago, and he speaks Cantonese, but he understands Mandarin as well. But more so, that's his primary language. That's the language that he uses at home. So we have difficulties communicating with him on that level, but also like due to his disability as well.
So with all that information, we kind of felt like, just so I can summarize before we move forward, we kind of felt like we could hit these different areas because he was capable of managing
and
like
we
a
saw
more
evidence
complex
of that.
system, right? So we created this like self-match form that PAC would kind of use as a self-monitoring tool for following directions, being respectful, having a positive attitude. So overall, now we've only been implementing it just for a few weeks, but how has it been going?
Good. So at first, when we made this thing together and we were so excited about it, but then we ran into a problem where he didn't quite understand the language that we used.
Right. Right.
And so his answers that were given weren't quite matching the teacher's answers, which he then would get like frustrated because he didn't understand what he was doing wrong. So we had to come back and do like a visual training.
Right.
So that using visuals really helps him like understand our expectations.
Right.
More.
Exactly. So I remember we had a little hiccup. We went back, introduced some visuals. Now it sounds like he's being a lot more successful with it.
Yes.
Using it like appropriately and honestly. And we talked about, whoever is also filling out his form, whether or not the answers are matching. And so far you're saying they're being consistent.
And so he'll also be honest. So if he's not having good behavior or good attitude, he knows and he'll answer no. And then the teacher will also answer no, but he still gets points for being honest. He just wouldn't get the full 2 points. He would get the 1 point.
Right. So it's going really well. So, in order to keep the momentum, do you think there's anything we might have to adjust for the future?
I feel like maybe an issue that we might come into is his reinforcement, like method, like if we, like what he's getting, like his choices of reinforcement. So we might have to do another reinforcement inventory just to make sure that he's not getting satiated by the current reinforcements that's being given to him now.
Right. Okay, perfect. So now we have a next step if things, if this wasn't being as effective.
Right. And I feel like this is maybe a little bit like higher on the art hierarchy for like self-management. So we might need to start fading it and trying to get him to like be a little more independent because he's really reliant right now on like showing those behaviors so that he could get rewarded on a very like consistent schedule. And so maybe our next like step is to change the schedule so that we could get him to be a little more independent and not like have to rely on our like intervention.
Exactly, because right now it's very like teacher facilitated, right? Because
Yeah,
essentially
so it's like
he
half
has.
self-monitoring, half teacher facilitated.
Right,
So,
right, right, right. So is there an ultimate goal of like what it might look like if he was able to do something like this completely independently?
yeah, so I mean, our goal is eventually to not have him have a one-on-one aid,
Mm-hmm.
but also to like have these appropriate behaviors and teach him appropriate behaviors without having to be rewarded for them, so
Right,
that it becomes like a natural reward that he's just doing these things, and then he's gaining friends and he's
right.
getting like more positive interactions with peers and teachers and things like that.
Perfect. Yeah, I love it. That would be the ideal. Um, okay, well, that kind of like wraps up what we were working on. And before we kind of like end our work with Pack, is there any other concerns you might have with him about um, this being implemented still or
Yeah, so like a big concern that we have is that like this only works if we have a teacher and eyes on him. Like there's been situations where he is in PE changing in the locker room and he has a female aide and she can't be in there. He'll
Oh.
demonstrate these behaviors,
Oh.
but we won't hear about it till later or be unless it like or it becomes like a bigger issue. Then we won't hear about it. So that could be concerning that he's too reliant on this and he kind of like knows when to behave appropriately compared to when he could get away with it.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
like we have to like think of a different angle
Oh,
to like kind
I
of tackle those behaviors, and I'm hoping that this works so well that eventually it'll like fade over to those areas where he wouldn't need an intervention, where he could have those positive behaviors without our support.
How would we get him? Let's see.
The easiest way would be able to get him a male one-on-one, but like
oh right,
but
and that's interesting because that's like a really specific now like circumstance
right.
created for
I mean,
him.
I feel like maybe we could do like a front loading type of deal where we like give him his expected behaviors before he enters the locker room, and then like maybe say like we have a person in there that has eyes on him, so he knows that he still has to perform to the expected behaviors, if you will.
Right, okay. And then also I was curious because I know when we first started chatting about PAC, we talked about kind of like home life as well. And when we left off, I was just curious, how has mom, I'm assuming she knows about the system and how she feels about it. Is there any way we could tie in like, homeschool connection if we were thinking about the next step to kind of fading?
I think, well, mom's really happy about his behavioral progress. We just had his IEP, and she sees a lot of improvement, and he hasn't, I mean, compared to his record, he hasn't had a lot of like behavioral circumstances like that admin has had to deal with. So she's happy about this at school, but I think that his behaviors at home are different than his behaviors at school. Mom says he is very like compliant at home and is sweet at home and like listens to her really well at home, but it's like once he gets to school and he has like these peer interactions is when like things kind of fall apart.
Right.
So I don't know that he doesn't need this program necessarily at home because his behaviors are different and they are good according to what mom says.
Right. Oh, okay. I guess I was thinking like in terms of like next steps when we talk about making him more independent, is there a way to like tie in like reinforcement that he can get at home?
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
And we've talked about that too, and the iPad is a huge thing. So if he doesn't like meet these expectations at school, I can send an email home to mom. And then she said that she won't let him have it. And
is
then
there
too, like,
at home, do you think?
It's hard to say, but like a big thing too with his behaviors and his triggers is that he would have more behaviors when he seemed tired. And so she said that she was going to start taking the iPad away earlier and making sure he goes to bed earlier. So like things like that. We are
I
trying to
see.
like work on tying all of this together at home.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's
Oh, yeah. No,
follow
that's
through.
fine. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it's so early in the intervention that
oh, sure.
we're
Well,
gonna keep using it and
oh,
seeing
great.
if it works. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, for right now, I feel confident, like, we can kind of you can kind of move forward with this on your own, and you guys have like a system at least that you can use. And then I know it's your first year teaching, so I don't know if.
Second year.
Oh, second year, so sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't know if you had come across any of these resources, but I really like these when thinking about behavior. And one of them is a book we actually are using in our course called The Teacher's Encyclopedia of Behavior Management.
Oh, cool.
Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah, it's really cool. So essentially, it's like an encyclopedia of PBIS supports.
Oh, wait. I have. Is it a big red book?
The one I have is blue.
Oh, okay.
But maybe a different edition.
I haven't.
Okay.
Very much,
oh,
so.
well, okay.
Yeah.
So if
but
we
I do
kinda
have
get
some kind of thing like that.
Okay, perfect. So if we like get stuck, then we revisit this, maybe that's a resource we could use. And then also the website What Works Clearinghouse.
Yes, I've used that.
Perfect. Okay, great. So because those are like my go-tos. So, okay. Well, before we wrap up, do you have any other questions?
No, I think it's working great, and I'm really happy with the progress that we're seeing, and so is Mom. So like.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and he's really improving a lot compared to.
And happier and.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the beginning was a little
for
rough.
the aid and
right.
So
cool.
It's been all good.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your
You're
help.
welcome.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh my gosh, thanks.